Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks as always for making your way here, for checking out the series. Of course, you know what to do. If you like what you see, what you hear, hit that subscribe button. I put out 3 new interviews every single week, so it's a great way to keep up with all of your favorite artists. And I'm so excited to have her on here today. Chloe Coleman is back with My Spy, the Eternal City. Hello.
Hello. Hello, hello.
So here you are. It's been what,
Yeah.
4 years now since the original? Is that about right?
I want to say 4 or 5 because I was 10 when we finished and I'm 15 now and I'll be 16 in November. So I want to say like a good 5 years it's been.
It's so interesting because like the original, like was that your first major picture?
I think that was my first major film I did and I look back on it now and it's crazy to me to see how young I was because at the time I filmed it I was like, "Oh, I look so old and cool." And now I'm like, "Wow, I look like a tiny 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 girl."
What's that like though? Because you've obviously had these roles since then, and you've done some great movies since then. But to embody this character that sort of more or less started it all for you. I mean, is there anything sort of psychological that goes along with that?
I think the interesting thing is that when I first did this movie, Sophie was a 10-year-old girl and she was in a whole different world than she is in the second film. And I think it's interesting because I've never had to really to age up a character before with so much detail. So when I heard we were doing the second one, I was like, okay, how do we approach this? Because I never really imagined Sophie as a teenager, and I'm also a teen, so I'm like, okay, what kind of parallels are there that I can use, and what can we look at here? So I read the script and like, okay, like I like this, she's awesome, and I'm like, it was bittersweet because she's older now, like she went from being this little girl and now she's in high school. Um, so I started by making mood boards on Pinterest, which I think is one of the most helpful things to do is to visualize everything. So I'm like, what does she kind of feel like? What does her clothes look like? Her room? Like, let's set up an environment for her. So I did that and I shared it with Pete and wardrobe, Pete Siegel, our director, and I shared it with wardrobe and set design so we could all kind of be like, let's design a room and see what she looks like. And I also made a music playlist for her, which just like it's kind of like developing full rounded, like what kind of music does she listen to? Like who is this girl? And figuring out who she is as a teenager. Because I wanted to keep that authentic, like sassy sarcasm from the first movie, but also make her older now. It was cool. I really enjoyed it. First sequel, and it was really fun.
Yeah, I've got to ask what's on the playlist.
I think I have a My Spy 2 playlist. I have Under Pressure from Queen. I
Right.
have Just a Girl by No Doubt.
Yeah.
Um, we have some older music. We have Freedom 90 remastered, Love Shack, Walking on Sunshine. I think the thing I like about Sophie is that she's really colorful and old-fashioned and she has this cool Parisian vibe to her because she's from Paris originally. So it was just stuff like that to get me in this upbeat mood because we're also doing stunts like literally every day. So that kind of music helps me get pumped up. And so before I'd be listening to the playlist, I'm like, okay, let's go do this. Like I have to, if I'm not feeling confident, like it doesn't come out as well. So I really like getting to rehearse what I'm getting to do stunt wise and then just go and do it. And it's super fun. The stunt part of it was definitely one of my favorite parts because it was newer. I love doing martial arts and stunt fighting. It's so cool to me, just choreographing it all and like from day one when I knew nothing about wushu or American karate or anything, and to see the growth is I'm so proud of it and I'm so glad I learned it as a skill.
Yeah. Yeah, that's we see that in the very first scene, right from the very first scene, this dream sequence, like, oh, she's an action star now. She gets to be an action star in this movie. And that's, probably a pretty obvious growth point for the story, considering what the first movie was. Like, did you know that going into it? Like hearing that there's going to be a sequel,
Mhm.
was it like obvious? You're going, oh, this is the time that I get to do that.
That's what I was hoping for. And when I read it, I was like, I went to Pete. I'm like, Pete, you made me look awesome. Like you made me look so cool. He gave me all of this awesome stuff to do. So immediately we hopped on it and I spent like about like a year, 8 months prepping everything. Like martial arts, I got right on that. I did skydive simulation training. I got scuba certified when I was in Cape Town while we were filming. I rode a Vespa for the first time, which was insane to me because I haven't even driven a car yet. And you know what? It was just awesome. It was so cool. I I I think that's what makes it so fun is I feel really connected to the character when I'm doing these stunts that she's doing. Like I really feel like that badass Sophie. That's what I like about it.
Have you used much of that since the movie shot? Like, do you continue with any kind of martial art training?
Yeah, I took a little break afterwards, but I definitely want to keep the skills going because I think for future I'd love to do more action work and more action films because I just love doing my own stunts. So I want to keep upping my skills and do everything I can so that I'm at my
Yeah.
best physical best physical self.
If only I had it, like one of the luxuries I think of what you do, anybody in your position. Like if I had the time and the reason, would I? I'd like to think that I would take that opportunity, or would I just still veg out and listen to music? I don't know, but I'm envious that you get those talents and traits.
Oh, thank you.
um, Seeing as you were talking about the growth within Sophie and everything that's happening within the story. So you've got the action side, and then we've got this. It's sort of like a Pretty in Pink scenario happening a little bit. She likes the popular boy,
Like
but
popular
the geeky guy likes her. This whole situation.
whole triangle thing going
Right.
on.
And with what you and Batista have going on, and what's going like, could you talk about what's happening there? Because now you all are in this situation where you have to decide what your relationship is.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting that there's a difference in the dynamic between the first and the second film. I think the reason that Sophie loves JJ so much in the first film is because she doesn't have anybody else aside from her mom, or she doesn't have friends. She's bullied, and so she feels in a way kind of like a loser. And then JJ walks into her life and completely changes it, and she feels empowered because he's showing her what it's like to be a spy and she's finding something that she can love. And so he is like her whole world. And so when she gets taken away from him in the first film, it's like, I had this moment to enjoy and now he's gone. And it's heartbreaking to her. And so she will really do anything it takes to get him back because of how much she loves him. And then it's different in the second film because now she does have friends. And now she's starting to go to high school and have a life and find passions like choir. And she's wanting to spend her time. She doesn't really, at first, she doesn't want to be as much of a spy anymore. She's like, I want to expand. I want this space, which is what a lot of teenagers do when they reach that age is like, I want independence, I want space, I can do it myself, I don't need help. And which it really isn't true. And because they feel like they can do everything. Not true. I learned it myself. Um, but it's sad to see like because JJ is literally taken so much of his work. He's developed his life around Sophie because he wants to be her father. Like he even says he's like, I want to walk her down the aisle one day. So he cares for her so much. And so it hurts him every time that she's taking a step back and she's like, I want more space. And she's like, I want to do this. And so they're kind of working through that relationship. And what's cool is really, even though we have all this action, all this cool stuff going on, at the end of the day, it's about their dynamic as they become closer again and realize how much they really need each other and how much they love each other. And I think it's so special at the end of the movie where we come back to that closing point. And like through a cool thing from the first movie is the pinky promise. And through the whole movie, they don't do that until the very end. And she's like, I promise you, like I love you. Like I think it's such a sweet moment. Um I love the growth that they have through the second film, and I think people are gonna find it relatable and emotional to watch.
Yeah. And luckily with some levity and comedy thrown in there. I mean,
Yes, funny.
the kissing
Yes.
talk is
Oh my God, that scene is so funny. Kristen is so funny. I had so much. We have so many takes of that scene. Actually, she's just hilarious. She would just keep saying stuff, and I was just like inside. I'm like, where? She's so talented. I'm like, where is this coming from? It was hilarious. I
but
love that scene with her.
are you able to keep the straight face the whole time? I mean, can you shut it off?
I can for the most part. I think inside I'm kind of squirming like this is such a weird conversation, but I use it a little bit in the scene to help. It's just Sophie kind of looking at her like, okay, whatever you say, Bobby. I love their dynamic. I think it's really cute. I think sometimes they kind of bicker over Dave a little bit, if that makes sense. Like Bobby wants to be JJ's right hand man, and then Sophie's also there, and she gets all this attention from JJ, and Bobby's like, oh, but I want to do the cool spy stuff too.
Yeah.
I think that's funny.
It is like the caliber of cast, and Ken Jeong on here. Like
Yes.
I hope you don't mind the big generic question, but what's that relate? What like your actual working relationship? Because I've heard so much about him on sets, and just like what you see is what you get with Ken.
He's so great. Like he's so funny. And everyone in this cast is awesome to be around, especially Ken. I got to spend way more time with him this movie. I had scenes with everybody really, but he's just hilarious and he brings so much to the table and so does Craig and Anna and Flula. Um I love being around them. Every day on set was so fun, no matter what we were doing. They just make it the best.
You know, I didn't even know that was Anna until halfway through the movie.
Really?
It's true.
That's so funny.
Yeah, yeah. On location, you mentioned Cape Town.
Yes.
Did you also do some in Italy, or was it all in Cape Town?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. No,
yeah, so,
we went to Italy.
yeah.
I remember Pete was like, "We're gonna shoot in Italy," and I'm like, "Really? Like, we're going to Italy?" I'm like, "Okay, I'm in. Like, let's do it." I knew nothing about Cape Town really until I went, and I fell in love with it. We stayed there for a couple months. I went an extra month in advance to do more stunt work and just prepping while we were there. And it's so cool. Like, it's the people there are great, and they create in these studios, they have these huge facades. Like they're so talented, seriously. It made working so fun. And then Italy, I mean, I think it's self-explanatory, absolutely beautiful. Like our base camp was literally in the middle of Rome, and it was just every day was so cool there. It felt like I just loved it. And we shot at the Colosseum completely empty, which was such a surreal moment. I was inside and I stand and I'm just looking around and I'm like, whoa, like it feels like I'm going back in time.
I
So
spent a little bit of time in Italy, and I was thinking about that while I was thinking about this interview, and what my thought was every time I ate something, it was the best version of that I ever ate, or you know, and every time I did say it was like the best version of that I ever experienced.
I
There's
think
something about that.
I think I still dream about the food from Italy. Like it's so good. Like every night we just go out and have a different dish. Definitely expanded my palate.
Hmm.
I'm surprised I didn't gain 10 pounds. I ate so much. Oh, it was delicious.
Yeah. You posted a video while you guys were in Cape Town, with the plastic bottles and the environmental activism.
Yes, we
Well,
did.
could you talk a bit about that? Because I thought that was really interesting. Like you're taking that opportunity, even though you're working and you're busy, like you still have those moments.
I think the coolest thing you can do is even when you're working, it's so important to give back, especially in the environment that you're working in. Um, we went out to these townships where they it's called Mossy Creative Hub, and what they do is they're repurposing plastic to use for gardening purposes to give back to their communities. It gives different homes gardening systems. It's super helpful, and I think it stuck out to me because plastic is such a big problem worldwide. And, we are like, what do we really do with all this plastic we have? And so I think it's such a smart way to repurpose it in a way that you can use it to give back and create food and use it in such a good way. And I'm like, I feel like this is really important. Why don't we raise money for this? Why don't we do something about it and we highlight it and show like what these people are doing because it's really smart. Like they would create these huge bricks out of condensed plastic to build homes. And it's like it blows my mind how cool that is. And I think it's something that needs to be shared. And I'm really glad we raised about $10,000 to donate back to the community.
Wow.
And I was really proud. I did it with our producer, Chris Bender, and it was a great experience. Really
Yeah.
eye-opening.
Yeah. Is that like a new venture for you? I mean, have you always been interested in environmental activism?
I think I come to understand it more as I grow up. I'm really big on single-use plastic because like if I really think about it, like how much we use in a day, like I think I'm really big on nature. I love being outside and I love protecting our planet. I'm always looking for ways to give back and see what I can do to contribute to the community.
Yeah, I love hearing that. I love seeing that video up there. Um, so this has now got to be a trilogy, right? Like it has to be. Like it
I
has to be.
I agree with you. I think we have to finish it off, with a good three.
If
Why
you
not?
do two, you have to do three.
Yeah.
I know
Might
that's
as,
for other
yeah,
people to
you're already
decide.
there,
Yeah,
so why
right,
not?
right. Just pull it into the drive. That's all you got to do at this point. It's outside of that, I also saw the She Kills Monsters. You've been doing some theater.
Yes, I would. Oh my God. I've watched so many shows at Pantages and Broadway growing up, and I was always like so interested. And I never really tried it until I got into high school. And I wanted to be home for my entire ninth grade year. I'm like, I'm not gonna work, I'm just gonna be here, I'm gonna do school, I'm gonna be a high schooler. And then I went and I still did the musical and the play, and I'm like, well, I guess I just can't, I just guess I want to keep acting. I can't help myself. Um, She Kills Monsters was such a great play with such a meaningful story. And I love doing theater because of the audience aspect. That to me, so much fun. Like it, I remember during rehearsals when we didn't have an audience, I was like, kind of in my head about it. I'm like, oh, like this doesn't feel funny. Like I wonder how people are gonna react. And the second you put the audience in, so fun. And I love being like a part of the stage. Like you feel so involved. I love that it's live. It's the coolest. I'm looking forward to next year.
Yeah, that energy that you get from the stage. That's why a lot of, the whole thing, what actors want to be rock stars and rock stars want to be actors. There's something about that energy, just a
Yeah.
reciprocal energy. I can't wait to see what else you pull off on that because that looked like a cool experience. In the meantime, this was such a fun movie with the new My Spy, The Eternal. So congratulations on it again. And Chloe, thanks so much for taking the time to talk about it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
And thanks to my guest. Also, thanks to you for checking out the episode in the series. Before you get out of here, hit that subscribe button. Again, you get 3 brand new interviews every single week. New one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at right here on YouTube, or of course anywhere in podcast land, including iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, or WFPK.org as well. A great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover new ones as well. Then after that, actually head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour full of song premieres, music news, anniversary spins, bonus interviews, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern at WFPK.org. Consequence has your music and film news. You can also find me on the social media spots, Facebook, Instagram, mostly on Twitter. All 3 of them, the address is at Kyle Meredith. Do hope you like and follow along. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.